for the
Let's
meeting.
go ahead and get started.
So yeah, let's do this. Actually, Rudy, somebody want to go first?
Bart, you want to come up here?
Oh, Barb, come on up. No, you can do it. You can come and join us.
You're the host, chancellor
Here,
here.
we're in the middle there.
I'll kick it off. So, the decision to not hire a search firm for the leader of your second biggest campus is not a small thing. Do you have somebody in mind?
The answer is no. It's going to be a true search, and we have selected a blue ribbon search committee, and we would anticipate, I think, as been indicated earlier, that'll be completed by January, and we have some excellent candidates. One who's seated just to my right, and so it'll be a search, and I think that Chancellor Bickelmeyer would say that that it benefits the university to do a true search. I mean, I think she is on board with having a search.
I would certainly say that. I would say that the most important thing is this is about UMKC. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about a national search is that you find the best candidate.
Explain to me why $1.3 million for a marketing and branding firm is a good idea when you're cutting $100 million.
It's a business decision. You quite correctly point out that it's a lot of money, but right now, this university needs to market itself. It needs to tell its story. We've got a great story to tell, and we feel that it'll be a valuable expenditure and a prudent expenditure. And Dr. Cartwright might want to check that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just second what Curator Graham said, and that is, if you look at higher education and the space of what all of our competitors are doing, they all market. They all have significant efforts in this area, and I think it's an area that we haven't explored in the way that others have up until now, and I think it's the right thing for us to be doing.
You just fired a recruiting team and a marketing team that wrote award-winning recruiting materials. So what are you gaining from having a consultant over the people that you had on staff just a few months ago?
So 160 over 90 is a national firm that has worked with many higher education institutions. If you look at the one slide that they placed up, I don't remember how many were on that, but I think that was just a selection of all the higher education institutions that they've worked with. That experience of what works and doesn't work is something that you don't necessarily have in-house without trial and error. And I'm sure they've gone through a lot of situations where they figured out which things work most effectively and which don't, and we want to leverage that experience and be able to move forward as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Rudy, I would add that we have a special need, and that requires special help. And you're talking about an expenditure that will actually be amortized over the period of time that we use the expertise that we're going to receive from that expenditure.
Mm-hmm. And the expertise that they lend us is much more than the groups that you referred to.
Have they given you guys any? I mean, they didn't give a whole lot. It's Mizzou related today, and I kind of get why it's still really early. But obviously, you have enough faith in them to be paying them this much money. The problems that the other institutions that they had up on that slide have had are so different from what happened at Mizzou. I mean, you guys have Republicans and Democrats who are unhappy with you. So I'm just kind of curious what maybe came up, and I know it was a bidding process, but came up in all those discussions that gave you the faith that they had those specific skill sets to tackle your really unique problems. So
I'll be honest. A lot of this happened before I was actually even on the job. But I think it's for me the differentiator is exactly the fact that they have had such in-depth experiences with a number of institutions that we compare ourselves to, and that we think we're similar to, and institutions that did have some challenges that were unique to higher education at the time that they occurred. And I think that's the common thread of what we saw in 160/90.
How do you plan to mitigate any backlash that might come from hiring this branding agency? And I'm thinking back, the campus climate survey that was discussed a number of times. That was incredibly expensive. I know that they've done some inclusion, diversity, and equity surveys. We're putting a lot of money into all of these things, and you talked about all of the value. But what do you have to say to people that might be frustrated, with some of the budget cuts and things that are happening about all the areas where we're pouring millions of dollars into?
Well, we have also, as was pointed out by one of the questions, that we have reduced some marketing expenses significantly by earlier decisions. Now, and we've substituted those expenses with consulting, which has been asked about. So it is part of the reallocation of resources. So it's not a total increase in expenditure because we've reduced some of those expenditures earlier on. But we are a $3+ billion institution, and we have to sell ourselves, and we have to sell ourselves credibly and honestly and transparently, and that's what we're trying to do. And none of these decisions were made in a vacuum. They were the product of a lot of people thinking very carefully about what is best for the institution. And every decision made that you've asked about was made by answering that question: what is best for the institution in the long term?
Marcy, have you decided if you're doing a second year as board chair?
Next question.
Since 2015, the enrollment figures were released in the last week for all campuses. Since 2015, the Columbia campus has not become more diverse. There's been some changes in the mix a little bit, but the percentage that is white is the same as it was 2 years ago. There's a slight decrease in the percentage of students on campus who are black. System-wide, it is slightly more diverse, but most of that additional diversity is additional Hispanic and Asian students, and the percentage of African American students in the whole system has gone down. And so I'm wondering if diversity numbers are the goals, or a key goal, or are these inclusion ideas that you all have attempted to go forward with the most important aspect of the initiatives since 2015?
I'm going to let Chancellor Cartwright answer that, but he put statistics out earlier this week that I think he needs to share with you. Because
yes, we have seen a slight increase in the total percentage of all underrepresented groups, right? If you add everybody else, yes. At Mizzou, we've also seen in terms of
I don't have the under.
I'm pretty sure if you do all of them together, we've seen an increase, but not major shifts. So I agree with that, not major shifts. I think what we need to be focused on is that everything we do at a higher education institution is about student success. We don't think about in terms of the particular initiative. What I want is that every person who comes to the institution is given equal opportunity to succeed. And that means that we need to put in place the inclusive excellence framework that makes sure that everybody feels that this is a place that feels like their home. You succeed when you're in a place where you're comfortable and you feel that you're allowed to be the best you can be.
I'll just follow up. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of discussion on the climate survey at this meeting. It became part of some of the discussions, but not a specific discussion about that. That's why I wanted to ask you, Mr. Graham, what you think is the important aspects of the initiatives on diversity and inclusion system-wide.
Yeah, I think I was probably the only curator who actually attended a rollout of the climate survey. I attended the one that occurred on the campus at UMSL, and I, for one, I know there were a lot of issues about the climate survey and what it told us. Well, it gave us some answers that we need, and we talked about that at this meeting. Based on the answers that we got there, some of which, quite frankly, are no different than you get at other institutions around the country. I mean, we're not the only institution which needs to find ways to pay our faculty higher salaries. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see that other public institutions are dealing with the same thing. But I thought the climate survey was very helpful, and it lets us know areas that we already knew we needed to address, but it also refines some of the areas that allows us to focus on areas that need to be addressed, and we plan on doing that. I thought the climate survey was a plus, not a minus.
I briefly spoke to Curator Steelman yesterday, and he said to me that nobody likes to talk about it, but the success of the football team, like it or not, has an impact on how people view the university. And with enrollment being kind of the key word and the big topic of the day, what's your response right now to the fact that some of the sports teams, like Mizzou's football team, is not doing well? And as Curator Steelman said, that does have an effect on the image of the university.
So everything we do has an impact on the institution. So what we need is to ensure that everybody understands the collective impact of our institution. It is, yes, football has visibility, but we have outstanding extension. We have outstanding research. We have incredible students who right now we've gotten the second highest retention rate for our students in history. This reflects how great of an institution it is, and I want them not to just focus on one component of an institution, but rather think collectively about what Mizzou is and what it means to be at Mizzou.
How confident are you? I'm sorry.
No, and I think to follow up on that, yes, the football season is not gone as well as we hope. There's a lot left of this particular football season, so it's a little early to. But I also would point out that over the last couple of days, the sports pages have been full of graft and corruption at other universities, and you did not see the University of Missouri. You did not see Mizzou in any of those articles.
Do we have a question from the Missourian? I just want to.
Oh, yeah.
I did actually have something about one of President Choi's comments earlier. He mentioned that the climate survey results weren't generalizable because of the low participation rate. So I'm wondering, what would have been a high enough participation rate for you to think those were generalized?
His comment was specifically about in certain areas we didn't have over 30% of the participants in a particular area, and the number that was usually quoted is if you have 30% of a population represented in the survey, that is then generalizable to the general population in that area. And you'll notice that in some areas we had, I think in students we had 16%, or there were different groups that had lower percentages. So those particular results aren't generalizable.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
How confident are you that enrollment won't be down here?
How confident am I? I'm always pretty confident. I think about the institution, and if we can get everybody to understand what Mizzou is, if I can get students to come onto campus, if we can have the things that Marshall is talking about, where we're talking about everybody talking to students about what Mizzou is, if they understand what it is, talk to our alumni, talk to the existing students, talk to our faculty, our staff, they will come. And I feel confident in that. We have to get it out there, and we have to get those people, get anybody to come to campus and really experience what Mizzou is. If we can do that, we'll have the numbers.
Yeah, and I would add to that, and all of you here, I know, have attended prior press conferences. But if you can't listen to Dr. Choi and Dr. Cartwright and Marshall Stewart and Polima Maurice from the previous meeting and not have some confidence about the future of the Mizzou campus and the rest of the four campuses and university system, then they're missing the message. I mean, I think the message that is out there from the 4 campuses and from the system is very positive right now. As positive as probably it's been in several years.
I do want to follow up on the question about sports and football. There's nothing that MU Extension, there's nothing that Marshall Stewart will do that will get him 3 hours of airtime on Saturday afternoon on CBS. So how important is it for Mizzou to be back instead of being on the SEC network, but on the national network? And how much longer does Barry Odom have to make that happen?
I won't answer the second part of that, but I will say this. I will say it's incredibly important. You're absolutely right. We are on TV 3 hours, whenever the games are on, and that the reach that we have through that is important to the institution. And I'm not trying to. If anything I said led you to think that wasn't important, I want to make it clear that is important, and we want to win. We want to be that institution that is a winner. We are a winning institution. We have to make sure that, like everything, to truly be exceptional at something, you have to invest the time and effort. And to make changes that are necessary and to change culture, to change what's happening within any organization, or in this case a team, takes time. And I think we need to have patience to see where things are going, and then we'll make a decision when we think the time is right to make that decision. But it's too early right now.
President Joy had said when he spoke up on the phone that getting applications in at Mizzou particularly is the most pressing issue. I just want to hear in your own words, do you agree with that statement and why? Because we've heard about a lot of pressing issues, but from faculty and staff salaries, the campus climate survey. Is enrollment the biggest one right now?
So if you look at what drives an institution's budget, right? Enrollment matters, because if enrollment decreases significantly, then what it does mean is that it's an impact on the budget, and then means it's layoffs. There are a number of other impacts as a result of that. So we have to be thinking about the enrollment, and it has to be a huge priority for our institution, and make sure that we are focused on that as much as we can be. At the same time, we need to be aware of the other things that are happening at the institution. Understand that our faculty and our staff have concerns as a result of our climate survey, and we need to be addressing those at the same time. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions, but we're going to focus and try to do everything we can to recruit students as aggressively as possible.
I might just add to that to say, and this goes to a statement I made yesterday, that we have to empower ourselves. Mm-hmm. All of the University of Missouri system campuses have to empower ourselves. And historically, because of the way that revenue has worked, state appropriations have been considered the single most important source of revenue. And we have to shift that mindset a little bit and understand how we can control our controllables. And the thing that we can most control is tuition. Now, we also can't raise tuition, so there's two options for that. One is we have to improve our retention, and we have good retention rates, but every student we keep is a success story for us. So for us at UMKC, retention is our most important consideration, and second is recruitment. And again, we need a group of well-educated people to lead in the workforce, to lead in the community, and so that is the single most important thing that we can do.
The Columbia campus is setting records for retention from the freshman class to the sophomore class. We're setting records. So. Yeah,
and we remain focused on that, too. We recognize the importance of freshman to sophomore, sophomore to junior. We recognize we need to be doing work in all of that to make sure that our students are successful in transitioning.
Maybe a couple more questions?
Yeah.
Worry about
Basketball season starts.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. I think Rachel had a...
Yeah, Rachel.
Just speaking of enrollment, I was wondering if when you got the climate survey results this summer and then waited for the release when the whole school started, was there... What was the delay? I know President Choi mentioned that no one was on campus, they releasing it then. So.
Actually, remember that, in fact, a lot of the release was based around the availability of Dr. Rankin and her team. And the earliest they could make it, I think, was that week, September 11th and 12th.
The other thing, Rachel, about your question, I'm not quite clear about
Yeah.
is when you said that we received the results this summer.
We didn't.
We didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought
didn't.
President Choi in his address said that you'd had those certificates this summer.
I think one of the constraints on getting Dr. Rankin here was that we wouldn't have wanted her to come during the summer because then our faculty and our students wouldn't be there. It would be better for her to come, her team to come during the semester, and then it was the first date available. I mean, we can check on this, but I'm pretty sure that was the first date available was the early September.
There was also an issue because they wanted to do all.
Yeah, we had
That's
to-
correct. That was the other complication.
We had to do them 4
Yes.
days in a row.
They didn't want
We had to
do,
find
like,
a-
okay, we'll
Yeah,
do Kansas
exactly.
City
That was
in
the
August,
complication.
and then we'll do Mizzou in October. They
Yeah.
wanted to try and get everybody done all at the same time.
Yeah, that was right. Sorry. Thank you. That's right.
I know Curator Grant
Yeah, we got to
is
get-
back
I got-
for
Thank you.
executive session, so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.